Hey guys, today we're going to look at a practical, affordable, family-style bug-out bag. And let's give a big thanks to our sponsor for this month, B-Legend. They're putting out a really awesome 5-pack of thermal blankets and a fire starter, which you're going to see incorporated into this bag. And a very useful item. And also another big shout out and thanks to the people who've been buying things that I've been posting up on the community tab. It's been very helpful, guys. I hate to, kind of run the channel at a loss, but with YouTube being the way it is, income is pretty much zero, so I kind of have to resort to it. So once again, big thanks to our sponsor this month. Big thanks to the people who are purchasing things. It's going a long way, and it helps because, I just can't come out of pocket, for the channel every month, So without further ado, let's talk about this. This is a family-style bug-out bag. And one of the things you have to bear in mind here, guys, is this is considering, one, that you have a viable EDC, 2, that you have viable supplies in your car or vehicle or office or your workplace or wherever it is you travel to throughout the day, so that this is not alone. This is meant to supplement your EDC, your work supplies, your home supplies and all that. This is not an end-all, be-all. This is the only thing you're going to need. This is a supplement. And also, it's a family-style bag. So we're getting away from the idea that you can just put a bunch of survival gear in a bag and walk out. I have 2 little ones. That makes 4 of us total. This bag considers the fact that there's 4 people. And there's a lot of empty room in this bag, guys, too. This is not a complete bag. This is a starter, getting you ideas how to think about a family-orientated bag. So we'll do some of the outside first. This, oh, by the way, is the LA Police Gear 3-day bag. I got this for 20 bucks, guys. LA Police Gear does a lot of good clearance sales, and they, I guess, redid this style of bag, the 3-day bag. So I caught this one on clearance for 20 bucks. Very easy to catch clearance bags, especially through LA Police Gear. And very nice to be able to catch one for that cheap. And it's really just an old model. You didn't see it reviewed because they've obviously updated it with a newer model. So what's the point of updating or reviewing something you can't get anymore? So on the outside here, you can see, oh, this is heavy. We have a family-sized first aid kit. And in that first aid kit, guys, are tourniquets, Israeli dressings, pressure dressings, gauze, hemostatic agent, things like that to deal with trauma, and things to deal with boo-boos, band-aids. No BS in that kit. It is all good, solid, either trauma or injury-related stuff. There's also some medicines in there, some ibuprofen, Benadryl, must have. Allergic reaction, Benadryl, could save your life, stuff like that. My wife has an EpiPen, so having the Benadryl is something that if she had a reaction could save her life. So very important, and that's why it's on the outside as well. If we need to get to that quickly, for a tourniquet, you need to get to that quickly. You don't want it in your pack. So I put it out there, and you can see it's got the bright cross on it. So if I tell my wife, get the first aid kit, she can unsnap that and have that in a second. All right. Hey, what a surprise. Our sponsor. Fooled you. No. As you saw from last week's video, I use this to melt snow. These are insanely useful items. I mean, everything you can think of can be used with a space bag. And not only is there something you can use for your own warmth, if you're cold, these are a improvised raincoat, a water catch for catching water, snow melter, ground pad. You can make a shelter out of these. These are pretty big. These are actually pretty large, like oversized ones. I got 4 in here. You could very easily turn this into a very good shelter. A lot of stuff you could do with these, and the weight is next to nothing, and the size is next to nothing. These are great to have. I mean, for me, there's 4 of us, so guess what? I have 4 in here. A pack of survival tabs, because they are an easy, quick source of energy and food that doesn't involve cooking. When you're bugging out, you don't know the situation, guys. You could be stuck in your car, you could be on the run, you could be in an urban shelter, a rescue shelter, you could be in the woods. You don't know, so you want to make sure you have that capability to eat regardless of whether or not you have a fire. I see a lot of people pack like MREs, which is another good option because you don't need a fire, but consider food that does not require a fire, food that does not require water to hydrate, and food that won't go bad in the heat, cold, etc. All that fun stuff. Down here, we have some Life Raft food, just some extras. Now, once again, This is supplementing my car, which I have some mountain house and things like that in my car. So this is not the sole thing for food. Let's get into the main bag, guys. This is a supplement. This is not everything. You can see all this empty space. That empty space is for adding things like clothing, personal items, hygiene, tools that you may want or need. Your family needs are different than mine. Your geographical needs are different than mine. I live in New York. We have tons of water. I don't need a lot of water procurement stuff. You can't go 5 feet without finding water. Very different story if you're out in the desert. Flashlights. Very, very important. I would recommend headlamp and a flashlight that has batteries in parallel. Now, what's one thing, and I'm going to try not to get on too big a tangent here, batteries in serial increase your voltage, you have the same runtime. Huge misinformation. You see lots of times like those flashlights where people are like, oh, it's got 2 batteries so it runs longer. No. If they're in serial, they don't. This is the BLF Q8. It's actually a Thorfire custom flashlight for budget light form. It has 4 batteries in parallel. You can get amazing run times out of this. So if you're going to go with a big flashlight, you want to make sure it is in parallel. Make sure we're focused. Headlamp too. This is just the Wowtac one because it's inexpensive and pretty tough and rugged. I would recommend probably having a headlamp for everybody in the group. This is a small kit I have with sharpening stones and tools to maintain tools. It's got like a couple small files, sharpening stone, knife oil, stuff like that to keep and maintain your. Don't mind the kids, guys. They're at it already. To maintain your tools. You know, once again, supplement to your EDC. You hopefully have pocket knives in your EDC. Power bank to keep your phone going and a cable. You can also charge your flashlights with that, which is awesome. You can charge your flashlight. You can charge all that other stuff. Once again, guys, I apologize for the background noise. The kids are excited. They always love to come and play when I'm doing a video. USGI poncho. We'll get that right out of the way. That's a very good option for shelter, for rain, and it can make a pretty big shelter out of that. Very easy. It's got grommets. Very versatile item and something very good for making a shelter big enough for 4 people to cuddle together. That and a couple of space blankets, and you can really do a very nice shelter. My fire kit. Once again, easily marked. I think this is a patch for like the Calgary Flames hockey team, but you know what? I found it, and not only that, but if I tell my wife, hey, get the fire kit quick, she can identify it quickly. Keeping your gear separated and labeled, very important, very helpful for that situation. When you tell your kid, get the fire kit, get the first aid kit, having those kind of labels makes things very, very easy. We got the Cold Steel Recon Tonto. This is in what, the SK5. It's relatively new. Not a lot of reviews on this, guys. I actually haven't even reviewed it myself. Why? Because it's carbon steel. They're tough. These things have been around a while, and you can see these things are very tough. They can be used as a defensive blade. They can be used to baton wood. Very good kind of all-purpose blade. Decent choice for this kind of situation. I have my Becker. Now, I only have 2 big knives, and that being because, obviously, we only have 2 adults, BK16. Good choice for a smaller knife. You know, I can attach it to my pack and all that, so that's a nice little option there as well. Once again, you're going to have pocket knives in your EDC and all that, so that's why I kind of left it at that. I'm not going to give the kids, being toddlers, you know, Beckers. Whoa. Alright, small axe. I like these carpenter style axes for this situation. Number one, you have a hammer. So if you are building a shelter, you need to pound tent pegs. You need to pound stakes into the ground. Very useful tool. Plus, you know, it's a decent, lightweight, you know, 1 3/4 pound hammer and hatchet. Good, small, portable. You can do a lot with this. You could take down some, you know, 6-8 inch trees with this with a little bit of work. Once again, it hides very well in the pack. And good. I would also supplement, and you don't see it here, I would supplement this with a saw as well. Alright, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and finish up. We only have a couple more things, so we're going to stop so that way it makes things a little easier to edit. Okay, guys, we are down to our last item, which is a pot. I hate watching bug out bag videos, guys, because people have their priorities all screwed up. People have like all this stuff for hunting and fishing. Okay, when you look at real survival, not BS, you know, Discovery Channel survival, but real survival, if you study survival situations, one of the things you find is that, like, most people die of exposure, and then people die of dehydration. There are almost no known cases of survival situations of people starving to death, except in those, you know, when you go back into the, obviously, 100 years ago when things weren't as settled as they are now. But in modern times, there's pretty much no survival stories of people starving to death, so your priority for food is actually very, very minimal. In fact, that's why you see it's largely ignored in this bag, is you're not going to starve to death. If you have to go 3 days without food, you'll live. It'll suck, but you'll live. You're just going to have to suck it up, Buttercup. Now, on the other hand, you can only go a couple hours being exposed to the elements. You can only go a couple of days without water. So priorities here in this bug out bag, of course, are shelter, as you see, because we have multiple sources of shelter, and then water. Now, I see a lot of bug out bags where people have this little tiny, you know, like 2-cup, like the glacier cup. And for the amount of water you need on a day, on a good hot day, you would have to boil that 8, 10, 12 times. You don't have that kind of time on the run. That's no way it's going to happen. You have to boil it. It's going to take 10, 15 minutes. You've got to get a fire going, get it boiled, transfer the water, or, you know, if you only have one pot, you got to let it cool down enough so you can drink it, and then start all over again. No. This here is a mainstays pot. I think the tag on it's gone. This is like a 5-quart stock pot. It is thin as can be. It actually only weighs 10 ounces, guys. Actually, I think I got my scale right here. Let's see. This is very lightweight. Very thin. No, 1 pound 4 ounces, so it's 20 ounces. My bad. So this is very lightweight, 5 quarts, guys. That is basically a quart of water per person per run. So you can fill this up with water, throw it on the fire. It's going to take a lot longer to boil because it's a big pot. But then you can individually dish it out into cups or whatever it is you're drinking from. Very good item to have for a family-sized bug-out bag. And as you saw, it fits into my bug-out bag perfectly. My advice is, if you have more than one person, if you're a family, get a pot that is big enough for your family. If you're on the run, think about this. You have to leave your home in an emergency. You run out the door with your bug-out bags, and all you've got is a little 20-ounce cup. You got 4 people. That's 4 ounces per person per boil. And if you can do maybe 2 boils per hour, that's 8 ounces per hour. You do that 8 hours a day, you're talking 64 ounces a person. That's barely what you need to survive. You would have to keep your fire going 24/7 to keep your family hydrated. It doesn't make sense. These bug out bag videos are ridiculous. They're not real. They're fake. They're people who don't think about this stuff. You need something big enough to accommodate your family. Now, in this case, I can go fill this up, boil it. It will probably take an hour, hour and a half, and then we can be on the road, and this is enough water to keep you alive for a day, for our family. So that is what you want to think and how you want to think. Now, you're going to see, and if you look in the comments, you're going to look down there and see there's a bunch of comments. You forgot a compass. You should have a whistle. You should, okay. There's going to be a million you should have had, you should have thought of, you should have comments. And it's true. But once again, in the end, address your survival needs first. Shelter, water, security, and then food. Now, of course, what you're not going to see in this video are pew, 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 because of YouTube's new policies. So we're not going to have them, we're not going to mention them, so that this video can stay up long term. So that security aspect is something you need to work out on your own, and because YouTube sucks a big one, we can't really discuss or show it here. So, like I said, elements. You have hours of being exposed to the elements that can kill you. You have days that can kill you without water. You have literally 3 weeks without food. Security is another one. Instant. Security, if you don't have security, it can kill you within minutes. So, it is very, very important to consider those things. Now, as you can see, we have 2 knives that are very capable for security. You have flashlights with, very nice, strong strobes, which are a good security item. So we have a lot of security covered in this pack, and hopefully your EDC supplements that, hopefully, with a good folding knife, tactical style folding knife, and, you know, pew pew. So, all right, so we covered our basics. We covered shelter, we covered water. Now you're going to add to this. This bug out bag, obviously, you're going to add to this from here. Things I'm going to recommend. A folding saw, especially if you live in an environment where there's a lot of trees, if you don't live in the desert. A folding saw. I'd say water purification tablets are a big one. Medicines. You always want to make sure you have extra of your medicines. You know, definitely probably a 3, 4, 5 day supply of your medicines, if not more. Things for your kids that you may need. If you got a baby, maybe 6, 8 diapers, maybe a couple empty bottles, powdered formula, that kind of stuff. That's why my bug out bag is not filled to the gills with compasses and all kinds of little survival doodads, because you're going to need room. You're also going to need room for clothes, 2 or 3 extra socks, maybe an extra shirt, maybe something like that. So you want to consider all these different things that you may need in your bug out bag. So I left this as the basics. You fill in the rest based on your needs, your environment, your family. But in the end, cover the basics. I can say this over and over and over again in a 20-minute video, and it will never be important enough. Shelter, water, security, food. Cover those things. Don't worry about the little things. Don't worry about the gizmos, the doodads, and all that. You need, for shelter, you need the ability to keep out of the wind and rain. You need the ability to get yourself up and off the ground. If the ground is cold or wet, you need the ability to make a fire and process wood. Now, those things are universal. Unless you're in a shelter, which they are not going to be so universal, but still, you know, if you have a shelter, there's no heat, you'd be surprised how quick people start having garbage can fires to keep warm. So having that capability to process wood and all that, even if it's to have a garbage can fire in a homeless shelter, you know, is worth it. Water, you know, boiling is one option. Why don't I have a filter? Because it's 6 months out of the year here, it's cold and snowy. Filters don't work in the winter, you know. So think ahead, plan ahead. If it's winter, you want to make sure you have this. If you are in an environment where the water doesn't freeze, maybe a filter is a better option. Adjust. Do things how it will work for your family. Just make sure you cover those basics. Go big when it comes to your water. Go big when it comes to your shelter. Go big with those things. You obviously can't carry a 4-man tent in a bug out bag, but you can carry a large tarp, space blankets, things like that to make yourself a nice shelter. And the one big thing I did forget, shame on me, is to put rope in there. You really should have 100 feet of paracord minimum, and then maybe some other things too, like fishing line, stuff like that. Because fishing line, aside from just fishing, you know, is a very good, useful thing for just, you know, making things, fixing things. You know, it's thread, essentially. So if your bag rips, it's something you can fix it with. So lots of good things, lots of things to think about, guys. I know it's been a long video, but I hope you guys enjoyed and hope this kind of opens your eyes to the idea of making your bug out bag a little more family friendly and a little less survival gizmo friendly.